This is Pamplona, and this is me sitting on the top of this interesting place, seeing the whole town. In this video now, what I plan to do is to talk about the modifications that I have made on my Tenere 700, to tell you what works and what not really. So this might help you to save some money or to make the right choices. So if you have nothing to do, you can grab your favorite drink and stay with me. Alright, because I cannot edit the video, it will be just one go like this. I'll go around the motorcycle and tell you about everything that I have made. Let's start with the most obvious modification that I have made, is to chop the tail. For me, this modification is really worth it. I did not like the original black plastic part here. It was too fragile, too heavy, a lot of different elements, so I don't really like it, and I chopped the tail. One important thing that I have had in mind is that it might be too short and some mud might go onto the rear side of the motorcycle or my back. And yes, it was exactly like this. That's why I decided to add this aluminum panel as an extension of the number plate to stop this going. And it's really stopped it. Maybe I have to cut it a little bit because it's not so pretty. Maybe I have to cut it like this to make it at least a little bit narrower here on the end. But even so, it works now. I don't have mud on my back, and this is absolutely perfect. The second point that I would like to discuss are these handles here and this luggage rack. This is one of the modifications that cost a lot of money. Fortunately for me, it was sent to me for free from a German company, doesnt. But what I would like to say about it, it's a perfect fit for the Tenere. It's a great build quality. I cannot say even a bad word about it. So if you have the Tenere, you will definitely need the handles, you will definitely need a luggage rack here. Otherwise, for example, now I cannot tie it properly my saddleback. So this is very expensive option. As I said, this costs 600 euros altogether. But there are many more different alternatives, like adventure specifications was like $200-300. There are many different options, but anyway, I would like to say that this option is perfect. It is a great design, great quality, fit perfectly. I like it so much. The next one is very cheap and very simple and obvious. This is this 3D mesh on the seat. Many people ask me how I'm dealing with the stock seat on the long days. Well, thanks to this mesh, the things are way better. Of course, the seat is not perfect, but it works, and with the help of this mesh, it is even better. So this cost like, I bought it from AliExpress for, I don't know, 20-30 lefts, which is like 10-15 euros, and it really worked well. The next, handguards, absolutely necessary. I like the handguards of Acerbis. I like the shape, and they are big and provide a very good wind and rain protection, if you want to say. They are absolutely must. They are very strong. There is one change here that has to be made if you have the Tenere, because the bar ends are too wide. I need to machine to cut one part of it. Otherwise, I cannot fit it here properly where the brake cylinder is. So this was the necessary modification that I have made, but it works now for me. Heated grips, I don't need even to discuss it, how important they are. Even in the summer, even now on my trip, I used the heated grips in many cold mornings. So these things are also worked. Crash guards, I've got this lower crash guard. Fortunately for me, until this moment, I don't need to test it, but even so, I believe that they will work very well, especially this part here, because as you can see, the water pump is really not well protected. Even that I bought this protection here before the crash guards. If I got the crash guards before this protection, I will never buy this, because without anything, if you crash on the side, you can easily damage the plastic cover of the water pump, and that's it, the game is over. This plastic protection here also was very cheap, but I believe it will save many scratches and possible wearing of the paint, the coat of the frame. I also think that this is really worth to be to have it on your motorcycle in terms of protection. I'm still with the stock bush plate. I don't think that the motorcycle really needs something different, because if you don't plan a heavy off-road, as I did not plan heavy off-road, this is just fine. Of course, if you want to go some really extreme hard off-road, climbing to rocks and stuff like that, this is not very tough, you might bend it, but for a normal usage that I plan to use it, I think it's fine. This plastic fender extension here, it's very useful, very practical, I will say, and cost almost nothing, because otherwise when you ride on the long days, especially in the rain and mud, all of this mud sprayed the engine very badly, and now is way better. These neoprene socks that I've got here, I believe that they will protect my forks for much longer time in good shape. They are not really necessary, but from my experience, if you ride without it, and when you have these dusty roads and stuff like that, small pieces of sand just go between the seal and the forks start leaking, and this will protect it, I believe. I ordered a headlight protection here, but unfortunately it did not arrive before I left. But the headlight protection is a must. It's not about the dust and everything, but if you have a big stone hitting your headlight, it will cost you a lot. So this will be the first thing that I'm gonna install when I get back home safe. Anything else? Yes, this holder for the telephone that I've got. Let me remove this telephone to show you underneath. The holder is for Zumo XT. Originally you can mount it there, but because I don't use GPS, I have this additional holder bought from AliExpress, very cheap. I think was I don't know, I couldn't remember the name. Mounted here to use my second telephone with Google Maps offline when I need to find a specific addresses. But this work absolutely fantastic. It is very stable, cannot lose my telephone. It is very visible, so when I write, it is right in front of my eye, so I don't need to tilt my face. If I have it here, for example, I don't need to tilt my face and miss something from the traffic. This is location here just perfect, and everything is just perfect. For here I have no doubts at all. It works on 100%, and I highly recommend this to everyone who plan to use its telephone. If you have a GPS here, it is also very practical, of course, GPS. The reason I don't use the GPS is because I travel with paper maps, and I also believe that with Google Maps offline, when you need specific address, it's more easy to find it, because Google always have got its suggestions, and it's much more easier to work instead of the GPS. On the GPS, usually you need to add exactly the address, or exactly the way the address is already put in the system of your GPS, and if you have even one mistake with one word, it will not find it. The rest, so far everything work. I have seen many people made necessary changes with the exhaust, and they change the mufflers. I really like the stock exhaust. It gives me everything that I need. So on this stage I don't have any plans to change it with anything. I know that if I fell down, this will bend and the exhaust will start hitting the subframe, will scratch it, but I'm aware of this. If I go down, fortunately until this moment I haven't, if I go down before I start riding, I will tilt it. I will tilt it back on the original position, so I know about the frame here. As I said, I do not plan any changes. This small and cheap modification, if you would like to say, these brake levers here, a perfect location, low center of gravity, no problems at all. They stay here. I hope I won't need it, but they stay here. One thing that so far everything that I told you works. One thing that I found absolutely pointless was this rubber here. These are rubber pots. They're like a set of 5, 2 here, 2 on the other side, and 1 here on the tank. And what I realized that from the heat, first the one on the tank failed. Then this one failed from the heat. They just dismount from here. Maybe this double phase glue was not good enough. They start to move a little bit, and I lost one, and I lost another, and then I lost another. And from 5, now I have only 1 left. And first I was thinking to collect it and then stick it again when I get back home. But then I realized that if something shouldn't be on the bike, it is just not there. And I just don't plan any more to buy any more and start it again, because they're just, as you can see, pointless. This one is still here, but for how long, I don't know. So this was the only useless or pointless modification, if you want to say, that I bought, that it just doesn't work. The rest, everything is here, and everything works. It's not because how I have to say, it's not that I told you that I'm gonna tell you the things that doesn't work, but because I do not buy everything that people buy, I usually buy only the most necessary things that I really need, that I know that I'm gonna use it. That's why in my case only one of these does not work. But I'm just an example that you don't need to buy all of this adventure stuff that you can find for your Teneres, because most of the things you don't really need it. Of course, everything is a matter of choice, so if you like to have something else, just have it, but keep in mind that most of the things are just not necessary. All right. Cable. I talk about these cables many times, but the simple cable on the tail of your motorcycle is the most useful and practical thing that you can buy. They usually cost nothing, and I use it all the time. For example, on every ferry, I lock my helmet there. I can lock even my jacket there, and I don't need to go with it on the ferries. Or every time when I stop somewhere to see something in the cities, I usually lock my helmet there, and I'm taking just my tank back, and I'm free to walk with free hands and to do whatever I like. That's it. The video is long enough. I hope that this information will help to at least one person to make the right choice. Always ride safe, and see you next time. Ciao.